guys, welcome back to the AOT Chronicles, an Attack on Titan podcast. I'm your host, Chad.
This is Ronnie.
And we've got episode 6 today. The World the Girl Saw, Battle for Trost.
Oh, is that what your title said, huh?
That is what my title is. I'm watching on Crunchyroll. What are you watching it on?
Hulu, so I guess it might be different, huh?
What did yours say?
The World Seen by a Young Girl, Attack on Trost Part 2.
Wow.
Kind of weird.
Okay.
Anyway, welcome back. This is episode 6. We like to keep you guys in the know. So, as you know, I haven't finished the entire series at this point. I've seen one episode of season 2, but just no worries there because it's a non-spoiler podcast, and we're only going to talk about things that have happened to episode 6.
All right.
Get us going, Chad.
Well, first scene, we've got Connie shaking a confused Armin. Okay, and Armin's just in a daze, you know. If we remember what happened last episode, he just saw his best bud get swallowed up, so he's freaking out a little bit. And Connie's just like, yo, where's your squad, dude? Why are you by yourself? Armin is not answering him. He's just like losing his shit. Which, what do you think about? Well, what would you do in this situation if you were him?
If I was Armin?
If you were Armin,
I would probably have a very similar reaction. This is pretty, this is rough here. But at the same time, it's his fault, kind of.
It is his fault, and I'm sure he's thinking, wow, he'd sacrifice himself for me, you know.
He's completely out of it. Everyone around here is talking. Some girl, I didn't even know who she was. They're talking about why the Titans didn't take Armin. And she just straight up goes, maybe they thought he was already dead. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. That was Ymir, by the way. That was Ymir that said that.
Ymir?
Ymir, yeah.
Okay. I'll be honest, I don't know her, but now I do. Ymir.
So they haven't shown much of her, but they mentioned her like maybe once when they were training. But,
yeah, this is why you're on the saddle, Chaz. We got to keep me in line. This is your expertise.
Right. And that's when, too, after she says that, Connie's like, yo, shut up. Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, honestly, I wish, or it would have been better if Eren and the rest of the squad lived instead of this sorry sack of shit talking about Armin, which was another just huge jab on somebody that just saw 5 of his members die.
Huge jab, but I'm not sure she's saying anything that's not true.
You're exactly right on that. And that's when Connie's like, yo, I'm going to fuck this bitch up. Starts to go at her, and Krista, blonde hair Krista, comes over, and she's like trying to break it up. She doesn't want anything started. And Ymir weirdly, oh, Krista, that's why you're the best. Marry me. And just the weirdest antics.
Yeah.
Like,
what is going on behind the scenes of this show?
Caught me completely off guard. I was just like, what is going on? And
so many off-screen romances forming.
And then he basically says the same thing we just said, and he then looks at Armin. He's like, get up, man. We're not going to leave you behind. We'll help you. And then Armin just like panics and zooms off. He just takes off. He's like doing his own thing.
It's a cool inner monologue he has because it's basically his whole thing is he's losing hope. He's been living this unfulfilled life with hope that it would get better once he got outside the walls and away from the Titans, but he's kind of realizing his whole existence is a living hell.
Yeah, he talks about that and how, you know, he's the weak one. He's always had to rely on Eren and Mikasa. They've always had to lift him up. He's just drowning in his own self-pity really this whole time.
It's a sad realization because I feel like everyone's been there before where you're like, oh, once I get to this age or once I get to this point in my life, it's all going to be, you know, coasting downhill, and it never seems to quite work out that way.
And he's just wishing he was more like them, that he just wasn't himself. And that's when he just has a terror. He tries to grapple onto that building and just falls straight on his ass. Which I thought was awesome because we know pretty much he's a weakling. Like, they didn't even mention his rank.
Right.
He's probably near the bottom. But he just falls straight on his ass, and he just keeps blaming himself for Eren's death at this point. And that was when he looks over, too, when he's on the ground, and he sees...
This is your favorite couple, Chaz.
Our couple, man. The 30-second screen time they had.
How could we have ever known that something bad was going to happen to these two poor souls?
Can you believe it? We have Hannah, right? She's sitting there giving CPR to an already dead Franz.
Well, he's not already dead. This is CPR. She's clearly done the classes. She knows. I Will Survive by the Bee Gees. You know, you do the compressions that quick.
She's pumping to it.
She's doing everything right, so let's just give her a second.
And Armin's going even more into a spiral, into his self-pity, and then he's looking at her like, yo, he's dead. What are you doing? Freaks out, puts his hands on his head, and basically that's it for him. Then we got next scene going over to the townspeople, and they're all trying to evacuate. And what do you think about this guy that was holding them up?
I mean, yeah, this guy seems like kind of a jerk to begin with, but first I've got to ask, when building these walls, why do you think they decided on, let's make it 46 feet high by 4 feet wide? Of course you can't get this wagon through, because this was just terrible construction.
Yeah, it's a lot of... what is in the wagon? Do you know at this point? What
he basically just is like food.
It's a bunch of like food and goods.
Yeah,
and materials.
Apparently this guy, he's providing food to all the soldiers and stuff like that. But for all we know, he's just lying. I mean, this guy seems like a slime ball anyway. It might just be his baseball card collection that he's got, and he just doesn't want to give it up. That's a good point. I want someone to go rip off that sheet and see what he's really hiding under there, because it is not food.
No, and if it is food, he is kind of on the heavier side, so a lot of it is probably for himself.
Mm-hmm.
But that's when, if things couldn't get any worse, that's when we see a Titan just start full-on charging at him.
My bad. I want to mention this little girl. She's kind of worried about what's going on, and her mom says, "Your daddy's going to kill the Titans with his cannon." Hey, no he's not. Because the cannons, as mentioned earlier, are terrible.
And that's just a terrible thing to say to your kid, because the kid's probably seen how awful these cannons are, even though she's a little 7-year-old girl.
She has no respect for her dad. She's just like, my dad, he can't.
He's a cannon firer?
I've seen him shoot things. He can't aim at all. What? Now he's got to use these cannons? I've heard nothing but bad things about him.
And that's when the Titan hears the commentary, and he's like, oh, he's got a cannon? I'm going to charge right at him.
Right, and which earliest Titan of the Week I think we've had the entire podcast. Titan of the Week, Floppy Arm Titan. Congratulations.
Yes, Floppy Arm Titan. I respect that pick, especially the way that he was slowly walking, and then he just all of a sudden started flailing and running. I thought that was awesome.
Horrifying.
Absolutely horrifying. And that's when we have our girl, who's the best girl. She comes swooping in. Her teammates, I guess, they're trying to go after it, and they're like, oh, it's no use. And she just comes flying in and slays the thing right in front of the whole townspeople. Yeah,
we've heard about Mikasa's skills, but I feel like this is the first time we're really getting to see her in action, and this combo is very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, she makes her teammates look slow out there, and they're I feel like they're more veterans, right?
Which also, where are her teammates? That's a really good point. She's supposed to be, I know, she got moved from Aaron's group, but presumably you would imagine that she would still have a team. I guess they might be so good that they kind of conquer and divide, or divide and conquer. It's just weird, because I don't remember seeing anyone else with her. She kind of just took this thing one-on-one.
That is true.
Had no problem.
Right when she slays the thing, too, she lands, and we've got Krusty Man, is what I like to call him.
That's a good name for him.
We got Krusty Man Slimeball. He's just chilling there, and he's like, oh, good. He's like, you showed up. He's like, please tell all these people to shove my whatever materials, I don't even know what he has, but shove my wagon through the gate so we can finally escape.
Yeah, this guy thinks if you get 10 people to try and push a basketball through a baseball pitching machine, it's somehow going to work. That's not how... I don't know if this guy had the little shape game when he was a baby where you put the circle in the circle and the square in the square, but it's just not how solid objects work at all.
Well, this guy, he's just an idiot. Somehow he's rich. I don't know how he got his money. He must be a con man, but he's an idiot. And that's when Mikasa is just like, right now my friends are dying, and because you people aren't evacuating, and this is the reason why, pretty much. And then she has a quote, too, to the guy, which this is my favorite quote. that I think I've seen of her. But she says, if you expect someone to die for the sake of another as a matter of course, I'm sure you'll understand this. And then she walks slowly towards him, menacingly.
Oh, I love it.
JoJo reference. And says that sometimes a single noble sacrifice can save many lives. And I thought that was just so badass that a chick is just walking up saying that.
She's so right. And then the two henchmen come running at her. She doesn't even have time for these guys. She just slaps them with, like, the flat edge of the blade.
Yeah, the dull end just knocks him out. And just walks straight up to the crusty man. And what does she say to him again?
I mean, basically just like...
Oh, he was like, I'm going to expose you to the...
Oh, yeah, he was threatening her, saying he knows basically who's in charge of her boss, and, you know, he's going to hear about this.
Yeah, and that's when she's like, oh, well, your dead corpse won't be able to say that. Just roast the motherfucker.
Yeah, I love it. I love getting this opportunity to see Mikasa when she's not right next to Eren.
Mm-hmm. Shows how much of a badass she really is when she's not having to protect Eren's sorry ass. But then she just sticks the blade right at Krusty Man's face and just tries him. And it was just awesome. That was another great scene.
Tells people pull out the wagon and they all get through.
Yeah.
And little girl who, poor dad, is trying to shoot things with cannons, says thanks and is obviously very enamored with Mikasa.
She's very inspired and hopefully not too inspired to join the scout regiment. Because...
Yeah, I feel like there's a good level of inspiration you can obtain from stuff like this. You don't want to be full Eren. You just want to have enough inspiration to be a good citizen.
And hopefully she doesn't think she can be on Mikasa's level because she's not human.
Yeah.
It's not very realistic if you think that. And that's when, is this your boy McDreamy or am I wrong?
Oh, if it is, I missed it. So I want to say no because the only reason I'll say that is because usually anytime you see McDreamy, it's because Pixies is right there.
Okay.
I think he's kind of his side man. So I'm going to say no, and that's only because I'm going to be mad if I missed an opportunity to just look at him.
You might be right. It might not be him, but it's at least a veteran, I know. It was one of the rear guard, right, that they recruited? Mikasa?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, it's just somebody from that team. He's just a veteran. He comes up to Mikasa, and he's just like, oh, good shit, like, great job, or whatever. And he then asks her, so what happened to you before this for you to be such a badass? And then when he says that, he kind of realizes, oh, that might be a bad question.
Right.
And backs off that real quick.
She just looks up and goes, oh, you don't even want to know.
Oh, yeah, she also tells this guy, she's like, I used up my blades too soon. You know, that was my fault. It's a mistake. I won't let it happen again. And he's just like...
Yeah, from our eyes, she did everything perfectly. And she's criticizing her performance because she wasted a blade on one Titan.
And then that's when we go to the calling card. The cutscene calling card is what I like to call it. But in between scenes. And it says, ultra hard steel. Material supple and strong, capable of slicing titans. Used to forge their own swords. It can only be manufactured in the blast furnaces of the factory cities.
Yeah, a little interesting nugget there. We can't just make these anywhere. We got to have the special equipment to make these titan-killing blades.
That's when we go to a flashback. We go all the way back to 844, which is...
You say all the way back. I got to say, on rewatch, this was a really interesting thing that I didn't catch because we start off the show in 845.
Right.
And obviously our characters look younger. I feel like they look, which, you know, puberty is one hell of a thing, but they look super young in this. So I was kind of amazed to know that from where we are here to where we get in that first episode, it has only been like a year.
Yeah, because in 844, they're both 15 years old right now. So in 844, they would have been 9. So at this point, from when his mom got eaten to 844, it was just a year. So 9 and 10 years old, which is pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, I guess the way I look at it the most, and we can get more into it as we get into how Eren helped Mikasa, but it's just super interesting that she has formed such a strong bond to him in such a little amount of time.
Right. Yeah, it was just a year. So we go back to that scene, and it's just Mikasa knitting with her mother and her father, who we have not seen before. This is just a new scene. They're having a great wholesome moment.
They're doing some sewing, and
Yeah.
Mikasa is like, "Look what I did," and Mom's so proud of her.
She's so proud. She's like, "Oh, you can teach this and pass it on to the next generation of your kids." And she's like,
one thing led to another, and
how do we get kids?
Yeah. Mikasa's dad was so eager to get out of telling her where babies come from that he didn't even bother double checking who was at the door.
Yeah, exactly. He's just that has to be Dr. Yeager. There's no way it's anyone else.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like Dr. Yeager's supposed to be there at 5:30. It's 3:45, and he's just like, he's probably early, and just swung the door open.
He's eager to see us. As soon as he opens the door, it just flashes over, and we're in a new scene, and it's Grisha, or Dr. Yeager, and Aaron. And it's nighttime now. I feel like it was daytime in the scene before.
Yeah, a little more dusk.
Yeah, a little more dusk. Dr. Yeager's banging on the door. No one's answering.
He's trying to tell Aaron, I want you to be friends with Mikasa. And Aaron is so sassy. It depends on her attitude, which, I'm the same kind of person. So this is why I have two friends, Chaz and Chad. And it's because it depends on everyone's attitude if I'm going to like them or not.
And that's when he just roasts Aaron, and he's like, "This is why you only have one friend." And I thought that was awesome. He's like, "All right, they're not coming to the door. I'm going to open it and see if they're here." So he opens the door, and that's when he sees not a very good sight, Ronnie. Not a very good sight.
It's not exactly what he wanted to see.
He just sees the slain, well, we don't know their names, but Mikasa's parents just...
Mr. and Mrs. Ackerman.
Yep, Mr. and Mrs. Ackerman, and they're just slayed on the floor.
Maybe not.
Maybe not, actually, yeah, you're right. We don't really know, but...
Names are one hell of a thing to try and keep track of.
So
it's all kind of twists and turns.
And Aaron's sitting by the door while Dr. Yeager goes and checks on the corpses.
Yeah, good move not letting him in there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a bad move saying, "Go wait by the bottom of the street."
Yeah, he tells Aaron to go wait at the base of the mountain. I
don't care if it's 20 feet away. I still think I'd say, "Hey, just stay right there at the door. You can keep talking to me," but...
He trusts his 9-year-old to go to the base of the mountain and be able to protect himself against something like this, which is pretty ballsy. Then that's when we get a cut scene, right? And it goes to two guys that look like they're human traffickers, I suppose.
Yeah, these guys look exactly like human traffickers.
Yes, they are.
Human traffickers have a certain look to them, and these are
these are these guys, dude.
Sometimes you see a couple guys, you're like, wow, those guys look like human traffickers.
Yeah. You just know you wouldn't want to be around them.
Yeah, but hot take, these guys are real jerks.
Yeah, I would say so.
That's my take I've developed.
Yeah, because especially the one guy, he's got his foot on top of Mikasa, and he's saying, "Oh, well, you're just a kid, but you're not really my type. But I'm sure we can still sell you."
Yeah, they mention that they're gonna sell. I think this is a paraphrase or a quote, one of the two. Sell her to the rich pervs who live beneath Capital City.
Capital City, yep.
Beneath. Interesting.
And that's when one of the guys starts talking, and he's like, "Yeah, if you look at her close enough, she's Asian. And I don't know if you know this, dummy, but people from Asia fled here, and she's probably the last of the descendants. She'll go for a really high price."
This is something that, I certainly didn't catch just through the animation, but kind of interesting to know that Mikasa is got a little bit of different race to her than most of the people around.
Mm-hmm. That's when the guy, too, he also mentions that her dad did not look Asian whatsoever.
Right.
That she's probably half Asian. Mm-hmm. And then that's when the other guy's like, that's why you're an idiot for killing the mom. She's full-blooded.
That's why you really botched this entire operation.
You fucked it up, buddy. We would have had a lot of money, which is just a scumbag thing to say, but he still says that the girl will probably go for a high price.
If you're gonna do your job, do it right, I say.
And then we get a little open of the door, and we see that it's Aaron, and he's like, excuse me, I was lost in the forest, and this is the only house I found.
Yeah, let me just say, Aaron, even though we're not exactly sure how he got there, he did get to top 5 of the entire class. But he might be a better actor than he is a soldier. I was very impressed with this performance from little 9-year-old Aaron.
I will say this. I genuinely thought the first time I saw this that he actually was lost. It was like he got away from his dad somehow and he was actually lost.
On his way to the bottom of the street, he really just didn't know where he was going.
He had no idea where he was going.
One thing led to another.
That's when one of the guys, he's like, walks over to him, kind of consoling him, and the other guy's like, yo, get rid of him. Get him out of here.
This guy's thinking this entire job has really gone off the rails. He's like, we didn't even get the person we wanted. And now this little kid's showing up. I got to deal with this.
We're taking care of 2 9-year-olds. We're basically babysitters now.
I guess, apples into oranges. He's thinking, well, now at least, I can keep this guy too, also sell him off.
Yeah, and that's when Aaron, it slowly pans down and you see a knife behind Aaron's back. And you're just like, oh, shit, 9-year-old with a knife? Okay. And then he just straight up guts the guy, which I was really shocked by that Aaron had that kind of fight in him at 9 years old.
This is so wild to me. I feel like this is really the meat and potatoes of this episode, even more so because, we knew Mikasa, how strongly she felt about Aaron, but the fact that Aaron has this rage inside of him from this early on, the way he does this makes me think, okay, has he done this before?
Yeah, and to be 9 years old and to think, oh, has this guy done this before, is terrifying.
He hunted these guys down. It's not even like it was a quick decision. He hunted these guys down and then didn't think twice of just stabbing this guy. Yeah. With the second guy right behind him, he knew he was going to have to deal with that second guy, and he still didn't even care. It's crazy, and I feel like there's way more to Aaron than we know about, because even if he's just a good kid and knows what's right and wrong, this is on another level.
Yeah, and it was even more terrifying that he knew to have a knife on him and to go hunt these people down. Like,
yeah,
I was really shocked by this the first time I saw it.
Does his dad know he has a knife? There's so many layers to it. That's what makes it so good.
He then closes the door and acts like he's running off, I guess.
Yeah. Second question: has his dad shown him how to craft a bayonet out of a mop/broom, whatever it is? Because I'm telling you, this is next level shit Aaron's doing.
Brutal. Just straight up lets the guy open the door and follow him, and just straight up spears him with a handmade bayonet. Yeah. Just incredible. This kid's 9 years old.
He's using all his resources. I was blown away.
I feel like Jeffrey Dahmer might have done something like this as a kid.
I don't know what you're trying to say about Aaron there. I just think this is super impressive.
And what's even crazier is after he spears the guy, he pulls the knife back out of the other guy and starts stabbing the guy repeatedly, and he's saying, "Die, you animal."
That's what I'm saying. There's a rage behind this. This isn't even just that he knows, or he doesn't blink and he's just trying to end these guys. He's so mad at these guys. He's not just doing what's right.
Yeah.
He's doing what's right and then a little bit extra.
But he just continuously stabs the guy, tells him to die, you animal, you asshole. And then after he's done, he cuts Mikasa's tied rope off, and he's talking to her, and he's like, what does he say to her again?
I don't even know exactly what he says, but 9-year-old Aaron is so much more boss than 15, 14-year-old Aaron, whatever he is at this point, because he's consoling her perfectly. He's got the scarf, he's getting her up, saying, you're safe now, I'm here. It's just super impressed.
Yeah, and then that's when she goes, wait, there was a third guy out of nowhere. And the look in his eyes, he's like, oh, shit. And right when she says that, another guy just comes walking in.
He was like, I only made one spear out of a mop. I was not expecting a third.
And then the normal take actually happens when...
What was this guy doing? Just taking a dump somewhere?
I think he was. This guy still had... His hands were still wet after washing his hands.
I feel like one of the first 2 people Aaron killed probably screamed, and that guy was finishing up, and he didn't come running in right away. He's like, well, I gotta wash my hands. Don't want to be unclean.
And then he just kicks the shit out of Aaron. Aaron goes flying, and this is when it gets realistic. It's like, oh shit, this is what actually happens when a 35-year-old man attacks a 9-year-old.
Right.
And then he grabs Aaron by the neck, and he's just choking him to death. And Aaron's like, fight, Mikasa, fight. And that's all he can think to say to Mikasa. And she goes through this whole thing of thinking back to like her past childhood.
You can't just skim over this, because not only is he telling her to fight, this is a different the wisdom, the fighting wisdom. He's, giving her, fight. If you fight and win, you live. If you lose, then you die. But that's already what was going to happen if you didn't fight anyway.
Yeah.
Is this like morals that his dad's put into him? What kind of conversations have him and Grisha had? Because this is some deep stuff coming from a 9-year-old who's choking to death.
Yes, very deep stuff. And that's when she even thinks back to like her childhood and how she saw like bugs attacking each other and her dad killing a bird for food and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, the weak always die. Like you can't win unless you try and you fight.
This episode has so much good stuff about how they want to portray the world, or how
Isayama, I think.
Isayama, how he wants to portray his world, because you have Armin in the beginning, who he's kind of having the inner monologue of how he thought things were going to get better once he got outside the walls, but he sees how lost the world truly is. Mikasa seeing that, we live day to day happy, but look at all this, death and destruction we're causing to all these other creatures. It's super interesting. I love it.
And I love how she repeats, and she says this world is cruel. And that's like a thing that you've heard a lot of people say that. They just talk about how cruel the world is. And that's when she just stops shaking, charges at the guy, and just guts him. But I just love how they repeatedly say and talk about how cruel the world is, and how that kind of motivates them to keep fighting.
Yeah, just good world building, like I was saying.
And then next scene, we've got the military police showing up with Grisha. And then I guess it looks like it's been a couple hours, right? It looks like it's been a while.
Yeah, it definitely seems like... Because I don't know how you get in contact with the military police. I haven't seen a phone of any kind, so... Definitely seems like Grisha probably went in, tried to save him, realized it was just, way too late, and had to contact them some way, somehow. And then he had to find Aaron as well.
Yeah, and then when he finally found Aaron, it looks like it's middle of the night almost.
Yeah.
Like it's been a few hours. Grisha's just like, what are you doing? Which any dad would be like this. Like, what are you thinking? Like, I told you to wait at the base of the mountain for me, and you go off and you stab 2 people to death?
Right.
Like,
this is all the more reason why it's so interesting the way that Aaron just took care of business, because it's not like Aaron said, Dad, this is what you told me to do. This is how you taught me. He's just kind of saying, like, they were scum. This was the right thing to do.
And by Grisha's reaction, too, he was definitely surprised by this. Like, he did not know Aaron had this in him. And he knew Aaron was a stubborn kid, but you could definitely tell he did not know that Aaron would do something like this.
Yeah, I made a bit of a blunder in an earlier episode. I believe I said Dr. Yeager's hair was in a ponytail. It's a good thing no one's listening, because I probably would have caught a lot of heat in the comments / emails. From here, it looks like it's not even a ponytail, but I'm also not completely backing off of it, because it's weird hair. It like gets skinny in the middle near his neck, and then it expands again. I don't know exactly what kind of hairstyle he's rocking, but he's rocking it well, and I love it.
Please feel free to roast us too. If you hear us make a mistake like that, just please feel free to comment,
Roast
dislike
us,
the video.
Let us know what you call this hairstyle at thepodcastchronicles@gmail.com.
Just give us a thumbs down on YouTube.
Keep it going.
But basically, Dr. Yeager's just like, what are you doing? Like, that's stupid. You're lucky. Like, you're just lucky. You're 9 years old. Like, if you wouldn't have snuck up on him like that, you're dead. There's no way out of that. And then what does Aaron say? He's just like, these guys.
Yeah, it's kind of like I said before. They're scum. Had to take care of them.
Yeah. And Mika says over there just in shock. I don't even know. If I was her, I really don't know what I would do at this point, being 9 years old and seeing my parents brutally murdered.
And this is it. I mean, this is Aaron. He's doing all the right things. Like I said before, he's got the scarf, puts it around her here.
Yep.
Tells her, she's like, what do I do now? And Dr. Yeager's like, you're coming home with us, or you can stay with us, and
Oh yeah,
Aaron's
that's what
like,
she
yeah,
said.
let's go home.
She said one of the saddest lines. It was like, "You're Dr. Yeager. Can you please point in the direction to where I can go home now?"
Ugh.
That was just brutal right there. And then she's like, "Oh wait, I don't have a home anymore."
Jeez.
Oof. That's when Aaron, you could tell, felt bad, and he put the scarf around her. Blah blah. Just such a wholesome moment. It was really goofy though, the way he put the scarf around her. By the way, he's not very good at
He
it.
wrapped it around her eyes first, and she was like, well, that's very nice, but let me scoot this down so I can see you. It's warm, isn't it?
And then that's when it pans over.
She's thinking, yeah, my parents just died, but thank God my neck is warm.
I think this is the moment that she realizes. Well, this is the moment she becomes Mikasa, the character we know.
Yeah.
I feel like definitely. And then that's when it
Changes
pans
her
over,
whole mindset.
and she's just slaying shit. She's just thinking back to that, just absolutely doing work.
Only the victors are allowed to live. It's a cruel world.
Right. And then the last line she says is, "Aaron, as long as I have you, I can do anything." And little does she know, Aaron just got swallowed up by a Titan, so she doesn't have him anymore.
So yet
world.
to be seen if she can do anything.
That episode ended off perfectly, though.
Yeah, such a great episode, because it's interesting. When I went to watch this episode and take notes, I really didn't have a whole lot of notes, but there was so much going on with the characters and things that you could look into. That was the loudest swallow I've ever heard in my life. But no, I love this episode. I would
Coffee.
definitely say the best since last episode.
Yeah, that's a great take, Ronnie.
In all seriousness, though, this is a different kind, because we get the action of last episode. We slow things down a little bit, get some background, and in its own way, this one's perfect too.
We needed to know why Mikasa was such up Aaron's ass too, though.
Yeah, it makes obviously
We
we've
really
been goofing on it, but it makes sense given what she did
Yeah, and
or what he did.
what he did, yeah. And just the fact that she's thinking, "Oh, I've lost everyone. He's the only one I got left."
Right.
So, it makes total sense.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. You got anything else?
I think that's it, Ronnie.
Well, send us the feedback at thepodcastchronicles@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Like he said, I'm Ronnie. He's Chad.
I'm Chad, and
See you later.
subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe.
Thumbs up.
Like.
Tell your parents.
But you don't want to hear us say this. You've already turned the podcast off. We'll see you later.
We'll see ya. Hey guys, welcome back to the AOT Chronicles, an Attack on Titan podcast. I'm your boy Ronnie.
Oh, no.
I was thinking so hard on